Welcome to our farm, the CultiGators. I'm CJ.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Colby.
I'm Olivia.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Victor.
Our first goal was to get 80% of the crops to produce a yield, and we succeeded in that one. The only plants that did not produce a significant yield were the beets and the squash, but we were able to replace the squash with strawberries, and we replaced the beets with green onions.
So our second goal was to spend less than an hour and a half a week doing weed management practices, and I think we accomplished that. We would come out here before class every Friday and weed by hand, and we would sometimes use the little weed tiller thing. So I think that we accomplished that goal pretty well.
One of our goals was to have a fresh vegetable by week 14, and we accomplished that by week 12 because we grew a whole row of turnips right here that we've already harvested.
So one of our goals was to have 10 different crops available by the end of the semester, and so we have that, and it starts right here with our jalapenos. That was ready, the mint was ready, the rosemary was ready, and the nasturtiums actually just bloomed. We just found them. They're right in here if you want to get a shot. We also have ready some mustard greens down here, cilantro. We have our kale ready, and the broccoli and the cauliflower, they're not ready for a harvest, but you can eat the greens in a salad, so they are available. And then down here we also have carrots that are going to be ready, and we think that our beets will be ready for harvest by the end.
Hi. So this semester we use black hole compost into our beds. We just dip a hole in that and we mix the soil and the black hole compost together, and we just apply it on the bed. And we also use this nature safe fertilizer, like 5 pounds total, for our bed to fill the growth of these crops.
With weeds, we used hay in between the rows and also white mulch. And both of these block sun and water from reaching the weed seeds so they don't germinate. So we used the buckwheat to attract pollinators, but as the semester went on, it slowly got trampled, so we added in the hay. And the hay also protected against weed control, but also added to the soil organic matter as it decomposed.
While taking care of our garden, we noticed that it was getting eaten up by some sort of insect, such as an ant or worm. So here in this leaf, you can kind of see parts here that are eaten up here. Some of these other leaves are doing a lot better, but we wanted them all to be more uniform. So we used some BT and spinoside, which are organically recommended pesticides that target the harmful insects and not the beneficial ones, so we encourage biological activity.
This is ladybug, and that is we got from the corns, and it is really helpful for the growth of the corn, and it's helpful to, like, so there are ladybugs here, so they can actually help grow stronger and healthier and decrease the happening of disease.
So one of the challenges that we faced was figuring out how to get fertilizer safely for the crops that were in the plastic mulch, because it's really important with fertilizer is to make sure that it doesn't touch the leaves and stems of the plant, or else it will burn it. So because of this challenge, we tried to make sure very carefully to put it around and just really take our time with it and make sure that what we were doing was okay. We also learned a lot from this, and if we did this again, we would make sure to mix the fertilizer in before laying down the mulch.
So one of our biggest challenges was this three-sister bed, mostly because of the way the semester works and how we had to plant at certain times. We didn't have time to allow our corn to get established before we start growing our beans and our squash. So really, like, understanding the importance of time management and planting and whether or not you should transplant or direct seed.
One of the biggest learning experiences we had this semester is really planning ahead. With the fertilizer, we kind of went with it as we went on instead of planning out in the beginning. We probably would have had a little bit more of a successful crop if we planned it out in the beginning and stuck to that plan.
Interesting observation that I took notice to was learning how to know when crops are ready. So for example, for the carrots and turnips, you have to pull the soil away around the base and see how big the base is, and that usually gives a good indication of if it's ready or not. And then for the corn, we learned recently that it's important to look at these little corn hairs, and you see it starts off yellow and it gets brown, and I heard that once all the hairs turn brown, that means the corn is ready.
Interesting observation we found was how well the broccoli did. I've never grown broccoli. I don't think really anyone in our group has ever grown broccoli. But when we were transplanting it, we were a little bit concerned because the roots were small and it was just looking kind of not too good. But it's been established really well. It's doing better than the cauliflower or the kale, it looks like. So an interesting observation is just that broccoli is resilient.
Thanks for watching!